I knew there was something wrong with you. A woman. Treacherous snake.
My name is Mulan.
This is Disney's Mulan. Unfortunately, this is also Disney's Mulan.
I'm Hua Jun, soldier in the Emperor's Imperial Army.
Then you will die, pretending to be something you're not.
2020's bland, colorless live-action remake removed just about everything that made the original animated feature so iconic.
I am the powerful, the indestructible Mushu. Oh, pretty high, man.
This should be an unpleasant surprise to fans, but it's actually an all-too-common occurrence for modern Disney, which is hyper-focused on remakes and sequels. So how did a company known for its unique creative pursuits turn into a soulless sequel factory? Who's to blame, and what star do we have to wish on to go back to the good old days?
A very lovely thought, but not at all practical.
Today we'll attempt to answer all those questions, but first, consider subscribing to Nerdstalgic if you're into videos like this. When the Walt Disney Company started producing their animated fairy tale retellings, it was a massive gamble. Before Snow White came out in 1937, cartoons had been reserved for short films. Nobody expected audiences to watch full-length films featuring nothing but illustrated approximations of real people. The idea was expensive and ill-advised. Walt Disney and his creative team felt they had something worthwhile to share. Borrowing the broad story beats from the Brothers Grimm, they used the medium of animation in new and beautiful ways to tell their version of the story. They were innovators and dreamers bent on changing the industry. And well, we know how the story goes.
We've had a lot of our dreams come true. Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Today, Disney is one of the most successful media companies in the world. You'd imagine the tenacious, creatively minded spirit that skyrocketed the company back in 1937 would still be at the forefront of all its business practices. But once again, we know how the story goes. In 2025, Disney is set to release a live-action remake of the animated classic that started it all. And the most recent trailer certainly isn't doing anything to excite audiences. This Snow White revival looks to be a misguided mess of a movie. What's worse is that this has become commonplace. More and more, the company's annual film and TV lineup has started to look like a Funhouse mirror version of previous successful years. This year's D23 event, at which the company announces all its upcoming releases, was an embarrassment of unnecessary sequels, rehashes, and remakes. Of the 16 movies Disney brought to the stage, 3 weren't tied to existing Disney properties. 2 of those original movies are from Pixar, and 1 is a Monster Jam production, which we're generously including. Otherwise, the company that was once a pioneer in imagination was somehow proud to showcase Freaky Friday 2, Moana 2, Zootopia 2, Avatar 3, Frozen 3, Incredibles 3, Toy Story 5, and a whole host of non-numbered retreads. Of course, that includes the Snow White remake, but we also got a glimpse of a live-action Lilo and Stitch, as well as a sequel to a hyper-realistic Lion King. Then there's the Mandalorian spin-off movie, the upcoming Fantastic Four, and the Tron sequel. In addition to the films, we also have the Disney Plus exclusive TV shows, which are almost entirely comprised of pre-existing Star Wars and Marvel spin-offs.
And now we are delighted to say that we're getting the opportunity to bring these characters to the big screen.
In its 101 years of operation, Disney has seen some impressively high highs and some embarrassingly low lows. This era of blatant unoriginality is by far the worst of the worst. So how did we get here? Let's take another look at 2025's Snow White. While the movie was in the works as early as 2016, Greta Gerwig wasn't brought on to co-write the script until 2021, and filming didn't begin until the following year. That's a pattern followed by many of the projects showcased at D23. Most of them went into production between 2020 and 2022, which you might recognize as the years Bob Chapek spent as CEO. When Bob Iger stepped down in 2020 after a 15-year stint at the head of the Walt Disney Company, he handpicked his successor. Chapek was a seemingly obvious replacement in Iger's mind. However, his decision was largely a financial one. For years, Iger had been impressed with Chapek's ability to generate massive profit across multiple branches of the company, and he hoped to see the same results on a larger scale once Chapek became CEO, but ambitions would not come to fruition. Chapek was CEO of Disney for only 33 months, with around half of that being in dispute as Iger was allegedly running things off and on for Chapek's entire tenure. The internal deal was that Iger would remain as chairman of the company and mentor Chapek through the first 22 months. According to a CNBC article, Iger would still direct the company's creative endeavors. There's no way of knowing exactly what that means, though it does suggest Iger still had some say over the movies and TV shows being greenlit between 2020 and 2022. Still, it was Chapek who aggressively funneled resources into streaming and significantly restructured the company. He created DMED, or the Disney Media and Entertainment Distribution Division, a team of executives who crunched numbers and forecasted trends to decide what type of content would make the most money in theaters and through streaming platforms. And it's the best example of why he was wrong for Disney from the start.
You're just a fat, pompous, bad-tempered old tyrant.
DMED ripped control away from the creatives at Disney and bet the fate of the company against some numbers on a spreadsheet. But that's what Chapek had always done best. He looked at the numbers, found places to slash costs, and implemented cheap, easy strategies to keep the bottom line healthy. While that's all well and good when you're the head of the merchandising and consumer products, it's less ideal when you're shaping the company's artistic future. They took far fewer risks and put all their faith in safe investments. During Chapek's time as CEO, the company instead chose to focus on marketing live-action sequels like Hocus Pocus 2 and Disenchanted. Meanwhile, other animated movies like Turning Red and Luca were sent directly to streaming rather than having a typical theatrical release.
What's wrong with you, stupido?
Chapek himself seemed to care very little for animation, telling the Wall Street Journal in 2022,
"Our fans and our audiences put their kids to bed at night after watching Pinocchio or Little Mermaid. They're probably not going to tune into another animated movie. They want something for them."
Effectively, at every turn, Chapek seemed to be making the wrong moves.
Only good guys win medals, and you, sir, are no good guy.
Many diehard fans suddenly saw the company as a lazy imitation of what once was, constantly repeating itself in progressively duller ways. And so, in a bid to return to the glory days, Iger was reinstated as CEO in November of 2022.
As we celebrate the company's 100th anniversary this year, I can't tell you how great it is to be back at Disney.
Chapek received the news that he had been fired on a Sunday evening while attending an Elton John concert at Dodger Stadium, which was being produced by Disney+. It was a fitting, poignant end to his story. The villain was defeated, and all was right with the world. Disney could finally return to its natural state of originality and artistic ambition, right?
When I returned to the company, it was very, very clear to me that we had to put creativity back to basically the center of this company.
But let's not forget, it was Iger, not Chapek, who kicked off the trend of live-action remakes and unnecessary sequels. Iger has been all in on rehashing Disney properties for years. Chapek may go down in history as Disney's most disgraceful CEO, but he didn't bring the company down with him. In reality, Chapek has become a scapegoat for over a decade of escalating bad decisions on the part of shareholder-conscious executives. Without some serious course correction and a willingness to return to the original spirit of the company, Disney will never solve its sequel problem.
Well, that was fun.
Maybe we can try again in another 100 years.
And well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks so much for watching this video all the way through. If you liked what you saw, be sure to let us know by hitting the thumbs up and subscribing to Nerdstalgic so you don't miss out on what we put out next.